Hey, today I've got some horrifying Reddit horror stories that genuinely had me sleeping with the lights on. If you want more of these videos, hit subscribe and drop a like. Let's get into it. My smart lock logged someone entering my apartment at 3:17 a.m. every night for 2 weeks. I live alone, 26-year-old female. This one was posted to r/let's not meet about 5 days ago by a user called LockScreenLinda. Pay attention to how this one opens, because it is going to feel safe, almost routine. That is the point. The drop is coming, and you will not see it. She sets the scene quick, so I will let her tell it. So I, 26-year-old female, moved into my apartment about 3 months ago. Brand new renovation, new floors, new kitchen, fresh paint. First place that was truly mine. No boyfriend, no pets, no roommates, just me. One of the first things I did was install a smart lock on the front door. I loved knowing exactly when my door opened and closed. It made me feel safe. Last Tuesday, I opened the lock app out of boredom. That is when I saw it. Activity logs I did not create. My front door had been unlocked and relocked between 3 and 3:30 a.m. on 14 consecutive nights. Every entry logged under a profile called maintenance using a 6-digit PIN I never programmed. I sat there staring at my phone. Nothing in my apartment was ever disturbed, nothing stolen, nothing moved. So I set up an interior camera that night pointed at my bedroom. Half expecting to see nothing, I checked the footage the next morning. There was a figure standing at the foot of my bed, completely motionless, for 11 minutes, not touching anything, not moving. Just standing there in the dark, watching me sleep. Then they turned and walked out my front door. 11 minutes. Standing perfectly still at the foot of her bed in total darkness. And this was not a one-time thing. This had been going on for 14 straight nights before she ever opened that app. 14 entries she can never unknow. And the worst part is, she still does not know who it was. The night vision only caught a silhouette. No face, no identity. Just a shape standing where no one should have been. She is about to go down a road she cannot come back from. So she set up the camera and she watched the footage. And this is where the story shifts from unsettling to something that stays with you long after you close the post. I threw up. That is not an exaggeration. I watched an 11-minute clip of a person standing at the foot of my bed while I slept, and I ran to the bathroom and got sick. Then I sat on the floor and watched it again. I don't know why. Maybe I needed it to not be real. The night vision made everything gray and grainy, but the shape was unmistakable. A person, standing perfectly still at the foot of my bed, not touching anything, not moving, just standing there. I replayed it maybe 10 times, trying to see a face, but the camera only captured a silhouette. What got me was the patience. 11 minutes of standing completely still like it was normal, like this was just what they did. At one point, they tilted their head slightly to the side, slow, like they were studying me. That image will not leave my head. I called the police. 2 officers came, checked the lock, confirmed the maintenance profile with a 6-digit code I never set up. They told me to change the code and install a deadbolt. I asked if they were going to investigate who this person was. One of them said they would file a report. That was it. I have never felt more alone. That night, I slept with every light on and a knife on my nightstand. Every creak in the apartment made my heart race. I called my building manager and left a voicemail explaining what happened. No callback. 14 nights. Someone had been walking into her apartment for 14 nights straight while she slept 3 feet away. And the official response was, change your PIN and install a deadbolt. She followed every instruction. But safety is not the same as feeling safe. And when someone has been inside your home while you slept for 2 weeks, a new lock does not fix what is broken. The thing that is broken is the idea that your home is yours. She left a message for her building manager explaining everything she found. No callback. And that silence from management is about to become the single most important detail in this entire story. So the code got changed, the deadbolt went on, and technically nothing else happened. But that is not how OP experienced it. I changed the code, I installed the deadbolt, I set up a second camera by the front door, and for the next 5 days, nothing. No new entries on the lock log, no alerts. The rational part of my brain kept saying, it's over, you fixed it, move on. But I couldn't sleep there. I stayed at my friend Jess's place 3 of those nights and only came back during the day to check footage. Every time I walked in, I cleared every room like I'd seen people do in movies. Bedroom closet, bathroom, behind the shower curtain. I requested the hallway camera footage from building management, left 2 voicemails, sent an email. Nothing for 3 days. When the building manager finally called back, he sounded weird. Not concerned, uncomfortable. Like I was creating a problem he didn't want to deal with. He said he'd look into it, and that was it. So I started digging on my own. Pulled up property records. The building changed management companies about 8 months ago, right around when the renovation on my unit finished. The previous company handled all contractor access, key codes, everything. And now they're gone. No one carried over records properly. No one audited the lock codes. That's when it hit me in a completely different way. Nobody cares. The police filed their report and moved on. The building manager wants me to stop calling. I am a 26-year-old woman who had a stranger standing over her bed for 2 weeks, and everyone is treating it like an inconvenience. So I told management if I didn't have that hallway footage in my hands by Friday, I was calling every local news station in the city. And I meant it. The comments on this one were not messing around. The fact that he just stood there for 11 minutes is the part I cannot get past. What was he doing? What was he thinking? I'm physically sick reading this. Check your closet walls. Check behind every piece of furniture pushed against a wall. I'm dead serious. If there's a connected unit that was vacant, someone needs to explain why no one checked it. A maintenance code that was never deactivated after a firing? That building management needs to be sued into the ground. This is gross negligence. I've already contacted a lawyer. When I called the building manager, he literally said, "Oh, that code should have been wiped during the reno," like it was a minor oversight. 14 nights. He was in my apartment for 14 nights, and they treated it like a clerical error. I can't stop shaking when I think about how long this could have gone on if I hadn't randomly checked the log. OP came back a few days later with an update post. And this is where the whole story tips over into something else entirely. I watched the hallway footage and he wasn't coming from the hallway. I finally got my answers, and I wish I hadn't. The building manager sat me down and told me the previous tenant in my unit was a maintenance worker who got fired for making copies of master keys. The maintenance code on my smart lock? That was his. When they renovated my unit, nobody reset the lock codes. Police went to his last known address. The people living there said he moved out months ago. No forwarding address. But here is the part that broke me. I got access to the hallway surveillance footage and I watched every night he showed up. He never came from the stairwell. Never came from the elevator. The footage shows him stepping out of the unit directly next to mine, the one listed as vacant. I didn't even know there was a connecting door. It was behind my bedroom closet wall, hidden by drywall from the renovation. He was not picking my lock. He was not sneaking through the lobby. He was coming through the wall, through my closet. He was already there the whole time. I keep thinking about every night I walked past that closet to get into bed. Every night I got undressed 2 feet from where he was waiting on the other side. That last line hit the comment section like a freight train. 11 minutes standing at the foot of your bed? I keep rereading that sentence, hoping it changes. It doesn't. I'm so sorry, OP. The 11 minutes is horrifying, but what gets me is that he left cleanly every time. He wasn't escalating. He wasn't taking things. He was just visiting. That's a person with a routine. That's so much worse than a burglary. Please tell me you're not still sleeping there. Seriously, go to a friend's house tonight. This is not a wait-and-see situation. Nobody had anything reassuring to say. OP never responded to a single one. But she was not done posting. OP came back one last time, and you could tell. This was someone writing their final words before disappearing. I'm writing this from my parents' house. I left the apartment the same night I saw that footage. I didn't pack right. I grabbed my laptop, my documents, a bag of clothes, and I drove. The police went into the unit next to mine, the one listed as vacant. Behind the drywall in my closet wall, there was a narrow corridor cut straight through to the other side. Inside that unit, they found a sleeping bag, food wrappers, and a phone. The phone had hundreds of photos on it. Photos of me, sleeping, cooking, sitting on my couch, taken from angles inside my own apartment over what looked like weeks, some from less than 5 feet away. The man has not been identified. I have filed every report I can file. I have given every statement. I have handed over every log and every clip. I don't know if they will find him. I don't know where he is right now. I'm done posting about this. I just needed people to know it was real. Stay safe. Her account was deleted within the hour, but the thread kept going. I used to think smart locks made you safer. This post just flipped that completely. A digital lock is only as secure as whoever manages the codes. Just clicked her profile. It's gone. She really meant it when she said she was done. This is the one that's going to stay with me. Not because it's the scariest thing I've read on here, but because every single part of it is real. And that's what stays with me about this one. It's not a ghost story. It's not a monster under the bed. It's a man, a code nobody thought to delete, and a wall thin enough to walk through. The thing that was supposed to keep her safe, the lock, the door, the walls of her own home, none of it meant anything. The boundary between her life and a stranger was drywall. But we are not done yet. The next story hits just as hard, so let's get into it. I, 27-year-old female, went to a wellness retreat that took our phones at check-in. It's been 11 days, and they keep finding reasons for me to stay. Posted 3 days ago on r/nosleep by restlesssage_. And this one starts quiet. Too quiet. So I'm 27-year-old F, marketing coordinator, and I was completely falling apart. I'd been sleeping at my desk 2-3 nights a week, crying in my car before walking into the office every morning. My therapist kept saying I needed a reset, and I kept saying I couldn't afford one. Then, someone in this random Facebook wellness group posted about a place called Stillwater Collective, 3-night weekend retreat in rural Oregon, $400. I should have known that price was wrong, but I was so tired I didn't care. The drive out there was beautiful in a way that should have scared me. No cell signal for the last 45 minutes. Gravel road cutting through Douglas firs so tall they blocked the sky. The farmstead was this converted property with warm lighting and raised garden beds everywhere. Check-in felt like arriving at a friend's house. Staff only used first names. Everyone wore linen. They handed me kombucha in a mason jar, and I almost cried because someone was just being nice to me. Then they asked for my phone. To protect the healing space, they said, and honestly, it felt like relief. They even gave you this cute little canvas bag with your name embroidered on it to store it in. First full day was genuinely wonderful. Yoga at sunrise, journaling by a creek, communal meals where nobody talked about work. I felt something loosen in my chest that I didn't know had been tight. And then came the second night. OP couldn't sleep. Wandered to the staff kitchen looking for tea. Moved an apron hanging on the wall and found a laminated chart behind it. Every guest's name, color-coded stickers rating something called openness to transformation. Hers was yellow. The red-stickered guests had extra columns, integration timelines with dates stretching weeks into the future. One date read November. It was June. She hung the apron back exactly how she found it, walked to her room, and never made that tea. Yeah, this one's just getting started. She did not sleep that night. And what happened the next morning is the part of this story where you start yelling at your screen. Because she almost got out. She was right there. I barely slept. Kept telling myself the chart was just a staff training tool. Maybe integration meant a follow-up email list. By morning, I had almost convinced myself. Sunday, checkout day. Bag packed before breakfast. When I got to the dining hall, Marnie stood up and announced that several guests had chosen to extend their stay. Called it a beautiful testament to the work. Half the group nodded like this was always the plan. I scanned the table. Eli was not there, the college kid who had been counting the hours since Friday. Pam was not there, the guy who kept joking about getting back to his dog. Gone. I asked Marnie where they were. She said they moved to the east cabins for deeper work. The east cabins are visible from the dining hall. Every window was dark. I told Marnie I needed to leave. She did not argue. She validated. She reflected. She said I was in a fear response, and the work was surfacing resistance. Offered one more night free. I hesitated. That was all it took. She took my pause as a yes and had someone carry my bag back to my room. I never said I was staying. My phone was locked in the intake office. Office opens at 9, Monday. Monday came. The office did not open. And this is the part that sits with you. Nobody raised a voice. Nobody locked a door in front of her. She hesitated for half a second, and they turned that pause into permission. The whole thing ran on kindness. That is what makes it so hard to fight. No phone, no car keys, no way to reach anyone or tell them she did not choose this. And somewhere out there, her friends and family think she is just unplugging at a wellness retreat because she wanted to. Nobody is coming to look for her. That is where this really starts to turn. By day 6, the routine had swallowed her whole. Every morning I told myself today I'd get my phone back. Every morning there was a new reason I couldn't. The intake coordinator was off-site, the lock on the office was being replaced. One time, a staff member actually told me Mercury was in retrograde and screens would disrupt the field. I stopped asking after day 5. On day 6, I decided to just walk to the road. I made it maybe 2 minutes before a staff member appeared out of nowhere. Not aggressive, just concerned. She said there were coyotes and offered to walk with me for safety. I said sure. She walked me in a wide loop through the trees, and we ended up right back at the farmstead. I tried again the next morning. Same woman, same loop, same gentle redirect. That's when I noticed the trail markers had been moved. The signs pointing toward the county road now pointed deeper into the woods. I started watching the other guests. Anyone who pushed back got pulled into extra one-on-one sessions with Marnie. After those sessions, they came back quiet, agreeable. Eli showed up at dinner on day 7. The kid who'd been cracking jokes about his dog was just gone. He sat next to Marnie and nodded at everything she said. I asked if he was okay. He smiled, this flat, even smile, and said I was never not okay. Pam never came back at all. That night I snuck into the staff kitchen. My sticker had changed from yellow to orange, and next to my name in the integration timeline column there was a date. The comments were trying to shake her awake. The laminated chart is what got me. That's not spontaneous cult behavior, that's a whole operational system. They've done this before and they have a process. I kept waiting for the part where someone physically stopped you from leaving, but it's almost worse that they didn't have to. They just made leaving feel like failure. The openness to transformation chart tells me there's someone with actual psychology training involved. That's clinical language being weaponized. The lead facilitator called herself a somatic integration specialist. She ran all the one-on-ones, childhood stuff, relationship patterns, what you were most ashamed of. By day 3, she was using details from my session to guide group exercises. I didn't realize she was feeding my private disclosures back through other people's mouths until I was already out. OP came back with an update post. And this one changes everything. My sister got me out, but someone is still posting from my account. Day 9. I got my hands on a phone, not mine, one I found in the intake office drawer. I had been working at the lock with a butter knife I palmed from dinner for 2 nights. The drawer had maybe 15 phones in it, all confiscated, all still charged. I grabbed one, logged into my Instagram, and my stomach just dropped. Someone had been posting from my account for 6 days. Photos of me at the retreat, candid shots from group sessions, me laughing during a meal, me journaling on the porch, captions about unplugging and finding myself and extending because I'm not ready to leave this magic. It sounded exactly like me. My friends were commenting heart emojis underneath. My mom replied, "So proud of you, sweetheart." Nobody is looking for me. Nobody is worried. Because as far as anyone can tell, I chose this. I kept scrolling and found a DM from my sister asking, "Are you sure you're okay? That last post didn't sound like you." The fake account never responded to her. She was the only one who noticed. I screenshotted everything I could before my hands started shaking too hard to hold the phone. The reaction to this one was immediate. The fact that they were posting as you is genuinely one of the most terrifying things I've read on here. That's not just keeping you, that's erasing your ability to be missed. I live in rural Oregon, and these retreats pop up every year under different names. County never does anything because they register as religious organizations. Can confirm. There was one near Estacada shut down in 2023 after a guest's employer called the sheriff when she no-showed for 2 weeks. Same playbook. Lead facilitators showed up running a new one in Tillamook County 6 months later. Did you contact police? I thought about it, but one of the staff mentioned having a friend at the sheriff's office. I didn't know how deep this went locally, so I didn't trust the jurisdiction. So here's where things finally break open. OP came back a few days later with an update. My sister got me out, but someone is still posting from my account. My sister Jess, the one who DM'd me and never got a response, she'd been watching those fake posts for days. She told me later she knew something was off because the captions never used my usual abbreviations, never mentioned my cat Mochi by name, and were posted at 2 a.m. when she knows I'm asleep by 10. She didn't call anyone. She didn't wait. She drove 6 hours from Portland and showed up at the retreat unannounced. Marnie tried everything. Told her I was in a session, told her I'd asked not to be disturbed, told her visits disrupt the healing container. Jess didn't move. She stood in that gravel lot and started screaming my name. I heard her from across the farmstead and I ran. I didn't grab my phone, I didn't grab my bag, I left in socks and a hoodie, and I didn't look back. We filed a police report the next morning. Within 48 hours, the Stillwater website was gone. The following week, it relaunched as Rootwork Wellness Collective. Same photos, same pricing, same everything. 3 guests from my cohort are still unaccounted for, including Pam. If someone you love tells you they're extending a trip and it doesn't quite sound like them, don't just like the post. Call them. And if they don't pick up, drive. The comments on this one hit hard. Please tell me you filed a police report. Identity theft alone is a felony, and that's before you get into false imprisonment. And that's what sits with me long after this story ends. The scariest part isn't the compound. It's not even the manipulation. It's that the cage was built out of your own social media presence, your own face, your own voice, your own life. The outside world wasn't ignoring you. They were watching a puppet show and applauding. Let that one sit for a second. That is the last story for today.